Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So today I was on Instagram and I saw a post that Tariq Nasheed put up about the McClure twins' father making some racist statements. And he also had like an interview with this guy, explaining himself, and he was with his wife. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the McClure twins, these are two biracial twins. The father is white, the mother is Nigerian. And apparently, this father put out some racist statements on Twitter like years ago. And these statements have surfaced, and people have been talking about him, and he's been forced to issue an apology. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the story, I will include a link in the description box once I get a chance to, once this video is uploaded, so you can read the full story. Shout out to Water Sniper. Um, Thanks for joining the hangout. I appreciate it. I see I got a few people in the house. I would do this from my computer, but because of my computer issues, I'm just going to have to do it from my phone. And I hope that you can bear with me. As I do this live stream, I'm going to be looking at my computer screen because there's this article that I want to quote for this interview, for this particular live stream right here. So if you all can bear with me, I'm going to read some excerpts from this particular article. Um, just bear with me a second. So this article points out how the mother is Nigerian and the father, Justin McClure, is white. They have these twin daughters who were in the news because of some cute little video they did. And their channel has, many subscribers. I think they're close to 1 million subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but recently it's came out that he's put out some tweets out here, some racist tweets. And he tried to delete some of these tweets, but these tweets have been screenshotted and, they're posted everywhere, like with anything online. Once you put something online, it's permanent no matter how much you try to cover it up. There's nothing you can do to prevent it from being exposed. It's not going anywhere. So these are some statements that he put out. I want to try to pull this up. Yeah, somebody took a screenshot on Twitter, and these are some of the things that he said. He said, black people can't say ask, but they have no trouble saying Cadillac Escalade. And then he has hashtag if I was black, hashtag black people can't say ask. And then he says, mark my word, one day a black woman will name her child allergies. My allergies been acting up all day. Saying he's like suggesting that black people come up with the most ignorant and crazy names and all that kind of stuff. Let me go to this section, and then he cites all these other examples of names. And he says like black women had these ridiculous names like chandelier and lasagna and consolation, Walgreens. And then he has like hashtag when black people get paid. So he has all these ridiculous statements, and then he's making fun of black women. He's making fun of black women's names. Suggesting that black women are uncivilized, that black women don't have any sense, coming up with these ridiculous names and stuff. And he has this one other example where he says, lately I've been under the impression, and then he says, impression is this black girl I went out with. She loves being on top. Hashtag black girls, hashtag ghetto. This is a white man who's married to a black woman, making these statements. Now, he says that he made these statements before he got in this relationship with this black woman, and he's a changed man and this and that, and he had all these issues he was going through. He came up with 1,000,001 excuses under the book to justify this nonsense. And then also, he put out a blog post where he said this. He said, and I'm going to read it. He says, white guys are typically more cautious, considerate of women. White guys might see a hot black girl at a bar or something, but talk themselves out of approaching because Anderson Cooper is coming on in 30 minutes. They have to go home. Then he goes on to say, black and Spanish men lifting weights on the corner don't even know who Anderson Cooper is. You know, again, that's a statement suggesting that black people are stupid, that black people are uninformed, that black people don't listen to the news or watch the news. That's what this white guy is suggesting. You know, when he makes the statements about black men and Latino men. Then he goes on to say, but they hope he'll buy their new mixtape. He says, but they hope he'll buy their new mixtape, meaning that they don't know anything about Anderson Cooper. They just want to sell some hip hop records. They want to sell some hip hop to Anderson Cooper or to anybody. Playing into all these negative stereotypes about black people being uninformed, being stupid, being all about hip hop and music and dancing and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to read a few more excerpts from this quote. And then he goes on to say this. He says, black women have never been opposed to dating white men for the most part. So when they get an email from a cute, chalky boy, they're like, he's cute, I'll definitely go out with him. But on the street, that would never happen because the white guy would be too busy thinking about TED Talks or buying books off of Amazon.com to notice the sister. White guys don't make moves in person. He goes on to talk about how Caucasian guys, if you want to date a black woman, you know, or curvy Spanish chick, go online, send some emails. You know, and then he goes on to say, talk about piñatas and FUBU, whatever it takes. This is a white guy talking about this stuff, man. A white guy that's supposed to be, quote unquote, liberal, supposed to be so tolerant of, you know, of diversity, you know, has appreciation for black women. But yet he has all these statements, you know, making all these derogatory statements about black women and black people in particular. So I'm going to go on to read a few more excerpts from this particular article. And this article is from Madame Noir. Again, I'll post a link in the description box. And also there's an article from Bossip. I'll post that in the description box as well so you all could check it out once I get a chance to. So I'm just going to read some of the things that this article mentions about these statements. You know, it says he insults black people's intelligence by claiming we can't pronounce the word ask. He makes fun of black names, creating outlandish ones like Walgreens. And, you know, it's just, this article points out how this is a display of ignorance. You know, a complete display of ignorance. It's a complete display of disrespect of black people and black culture. But this is the man that this woman decided to marry. This is the man that this woman defended. And I'm going to try to pull up, you know, this Instagram so that I could play the audio of this interview. Hopefully it won't create any issues on YouTube or whatever. But before I close out, I'm going to do that. And I wish I had more time for this hangout, but I'm not going to have much time for this. I just wanted to get in here and talk about this important issue because it's important. And I'm going to go into why it's important in a second, but I want to read some more excerpts from this article. Then this article points out how he invokes a black woman's sexuality only to describe it as ghetto. You know, a term that's like dismissive, a term that like is a term used to put down somebody. This is what this so-called tolerant liberal white guy who's married to this black woman had to say. Just bear with me 1 second. And again, you know, this article points out how he again relies on stereotypes of black men being unrefined, unintelligent, unconcerned, and brutish, while the white man is educated, considerate, and informed about current affairs. That's how this guy views black men and black people, man. And you can't tell me that all of a sudden This white guy has just had some great revelation, and he's all of a sudden completely renounced these types of racist views about black people and black women in particular. Man, it's just crazy, man. It's really crazy. And there's a point in here where they talk about like how some of his statements were made um, while he right after he had his children. So he can't come up with the excuse that yeah, so he can't come up with the excuse that this was him in the past. So let me go ahead and read this segment. Um, and then they point out like his statements where he's apologizing, and I'm going to read a couple of these tweets. So he says this. Hold on one second. So this is his lame excuse. And then also, as I said before, I'm going to try to play the audio from this interview. But he says the cringe tweets existed on our timeline because I converted my comedy page to our family page, unaware of the old 2011 tweets. It is well documented how I used stand up for attention and to say irreverent things. Thank goodness I grew up laughing out loud anyway. Anyhow, moving on. That's what he says. A dismissive little, quick little apology, saying that he just said irreverent things back in the day. That's just who he was. It's no big deal. No need to complain about it. Then he goes on to say this: insensitive, yes, from a very insecure man at the time. I've talked publicly about how I said irreverent things for attention. I was drunk. He says I was a drunk and a womanizer then. And then he said it's well documented that being sober changed his attitude and this and that. And then, this article points out how, let's see, hold on. It notice how he doesn't apologize to black women. This article points that out. Like, despite him trying to like brush this aside as if it wasn't no big deal, like this was just him when he was a drunk and all that kind of stuff. He didn't know any better back then. He makes no apology to black women or to black people in this statement, in these initial tweets. And it goes on to say this: instead of apologizing, he seems to suggest that he doesn't fully recognize the severity, that he still doesn't recognize the severity of his words. I mean, just think about it. This is a man who has no respect for black women, who had no respect for black women raising black girls. And you have this black woman, this Nigerian woman, making excuses for this guy, trying to dismiss these charges of racism. I'm trying to find, there's a segment here where it mentions that one of his statements he made while he had his daughters. So just bear with me a second. Just bear with me one second. I just have to go back to this Bossip article. Hold on one second, y'all. Just bear with me. Yeah, and it points out this. It says folks were quick to point out that his mixed race children were here when he made those disgusting remarks about black women. Somebody on Twitter said this. They said, but see, your kids were already born by this tweet. So it's just pointing out how this guy is trying to duck and dodge and all that kind of stuff, talking about how he's a changed man and this and that. when he's making these statements at the same time when he had these children. This isn't like. Just bear with me a second, Joe. I'm gonna go through your comments in a second, right after I play this. I will, if I can figure out my Instagram password. All right. Okay, I think I found it. All right, just bear with me a second, y'all. And I'm glad I'm not sharing my screen right now. And I gotta switch up who I follow on here. All right, hold on, y'all. Just bear with me a second, y'all. I'm gonna try to go through your comments while I'm. Hold on one second. Let me just search for his page instead of scrolling through. Okay, so y'all should be able to hear it. Let me know if you can't hear it.
Recently, some tweets were discovered from years ago that I had forgotten about, honestly. I converted my comedy page to my family page, and I forgot about some very distasteful tweets. These tweets were jokes that I did about race, I did about gender, I did about, where I'm from in the South. That's what I thought was funny at the time. I was a comedian, so I would think of things on the subway, and I would say it at open mic, or I would say it on Twitter, and I'd be done with it. These tweets or jokes were very distasteful. It's not a reflection of my humor now. I was a very insecure person. Years of therapy, years of sobriety, all these things helped change my life. And through that, I met my family. I became a husband and a father, which I did not think I was capable of doing. The main thing is I had to get through that person who said those distasteful things to get to the person that I am now.
What I dislike is people always brandishing things as someone being racist. Were they bad jokes? Absolutely. But is he a racist? I mean, really?
Recently, some tweets were
Okay, so y'all heard that. So I'm gonna exit out of there. So you had this woman basically trying to make this guy, saying, well, were they in bad taste? Yeah, but they weren't, basically saying they weren't racist, and people were quick to call things racist. I mean, if that's not racist, what is racist? I mean, you all heard the tweets. I read them out loud to you all. I read his statements on his blog and stuff. If you listen to those statements and you don't think he's racist, there's something wrong with you. If you don't find those statements to be highly problematic, there's something wrong with you. And the fact that you had this black woman defending this guy, I mean, it speaks to how psychologically damaged some of our people are. It speaks to the Stockholm syndrome that a lot of our people have. And it speaks to something that the Nation of Islam talk about in the lessons when they talk about why does he love the devil so much? Because the devil gives him nothing. I mean, it's like these people are literally in love with the enemy, man. In love with people who are racist. And I've done videos before. I had another video on here of this Nazi who ended up marrying this black woman. I just wonder what the hell is wrong with some of our women. You have black women who are married to white racists. You have black women who date white racists. You got black women who defend white racists. I mean, how sick can our people be? I mean, how does somebody get to the point where they defend racism, where they lay down with the damn enemy and have children with the enemy, and then defend the enemy when the enemy is exposed for who he and what he is? I mean, it's sickening, man. It is disgusting to me that you have black people that are so lost like this, that they do stuff like this. And I'm sure tonight you're going to see all these swirlers, all these Negro bed wenches on here trying to make excuses for this, trying to downplay the significance of this, trying to brush it aside, completely ignoring it. You will see that here on YouTube. You know, these people, when a black man does something wrong, when a black man does anything wrong, they highlight that black man. They use that black man to judge and condemn all black men, period. But when it comes to this white man, they have 101 excuses for this white man. When it comes to this white man, instead of judging him as a collective, they judge him as an individual. They never get a black man that kind of benefit of the doubt. I mean, this speaks to that bedwench logic and mentality, man. And I know some people don't like that word. I understand they don't like that word, man. They say it's offensive. Well, it's designed to be offensive. Anytime you make excuses for white racists, there's something wrong with you. And you should be ashamed of yourself. And you should be ostracized and alienated from the black community for defending that foolishness. It's insane, man. And it just speaks to this larger issue of white people and racism, man. I think that, unfortunately, most white people are racist. I mean, when you boil it down to its essence, I mean, a lot of white people have been programmed by this society to look down upon black people, to view black people as inferior, to view black people as unintelligent, to view black people as criminals, to view black people as less than, to view black people as subhuman. That's how most white people have been indoctrinated. Just like black people have been indoctrinated to hate themselves, most white people have been indoctrinated to hate black people or to view black people as less human or, unequal to them. And that's just a fact. I mean, if you go to a school where you're reading history and you don't hear anything great about what black people have contributed to human civilization, when all the great civilizations you read about are white, when all the great civilizations, all the great accomplishments are depicted as being originated from Europe or from the white man, and you look at history and they tell you that black people were savages, that black people lived just in huts, anything, didn't develop anything, you're going to believe, even if you're one of these liberals, you're going to believe deep down inside that the black man and woman are inferior to you. And sadly, like most of these people believe that, man, despite all their pretense and, them putting on these airs of being so tolerant, despite how many white women how many black women they sleep with or marry or date or anything like that, they're still programmed. A lot of them are still programmed to be racist, man. And that's why it's better to just accept your own, man, and be with your own and love your own, to love your own black people instead of running out and getting with somebody other than yourself. A lot of our people are just lost, man. I mean, this is a Nigerian woman, man. I mean, given the history of colonialism, given the history of slavery, given the history of Jim Crow, given the history of modern day racism in this country, mass incarceration, police brutality, you would think that the last person that black people will be trying to be with is a white man or a white woman. And again, I'm not saying that all of them are racist, but I do believe that the majority of white people have been programmed to be racist. And so I'm not shocked and surprised when I find out about stuff like this, man. But anyway, let me go through your comments real quick before I close out. I want to thank y'all for tuning. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. I'm going to go through your comments real quick. I have to go pretty soon. Man, it's a lot of comments. I may not be able to get to them, but I want to thank y'all for tuning in, man. Just bear with me a second. I'll get to as many of them as I can. I'll just do some quick shout outs. Shout out to my man Water Sniper. Shout out to True Royal Family. Shout out to my man Psycho. Shout out to Information Show. Shout out to Ariane. Shout out to Cherry. Shout out to Allie. All right, let me see what y'all are saying. Like I said, he's just sorry he got caught. Exactly. I mean, because the man didn't make any apologies to black people at all. All he said was that he made, that he wasn't sober back then. He's blaming it on the alcohol, just like this article from Madame Noir points out, like Jamie blaming it on the alcohol. They only saw. I mean, this guy is sorry. He didn't even say he was sorry, man. He didn't even apologize to black people or anything like that. It's crazy, man. So someone said the Nigerian mother has this air about her that she's better than black American women. Yeah, unfortunately, that's true, man. Unfortunately, a lot of people had this attitude that they're better than, African Americans. And at the end of the day, our oppressor looks at us all the same, whether you're from the Caribbean or whether you're from America or from Latin America. At the end of the day, black people, period, hated against. Black people worldwide are oppressed. So the last thing we need to do years ago. Yeah, somebody did G probably sure she probably is gonna do something on like this that happens. I mean, that you have who defend races, you know, sleep with the enemy, literally sleep with the enemy, man. It's just to the truth as I know it.